Juan the Spaniard Archuleta. It's been a tough morning. Juan's been training since 6:30 this morning in the garage, and just wanted to come out and share some things with you guys. So Juan, how was your training this morning?
Oh, it was tough getting through it. Was ready for a good workout, and then getting your legs taken out from under you, and then trying to work through the exercise. It was grueling.
You did a good job though. You were in there with some of your partners. Sayab was in there with you, and some other guys. Aaron was in there with you, and you guys all have fights coming up right now. So why don't you tell us about your fight coming up on?
Yep, my next fight's going to be November 30th, so I have some time to build up before actually cutting down. But having your workout partners in there like Syed, Aaron, even Spike, and mainly having a coach that oversees everything is good motivation to help you get through the workouts, because not like every gym you go to, you don't get to see your personal trainer train or go through the same workouts you do, so you don't know if they know what you're going through. But being with the garage and the training lab, you try everything out first before you do to us, So we know that the bar was already set, and we just gotta make sure we get to there or surpass that. And having the competition, the competitive nature of training partners and pushing each other and trying to one up them to make sure you're gaining you're gaining the gains as well is crucial. So it's fun. It's leading into my next fight. Our training partners, Syed Awad and Aaron Pico have big fights coming up, but this training camp is gonna mean a lot. Working right now till November 30th.
Right, and so tell us about November 30th one.
Yeah, so November 30th, we're going to be in Thackerville, Oklahoma. We're going to be pushing we got a couple fights, a couple opponents lined up, but the goal is going to be what it was when I first came into the garage, to go in there, impact my wheel, set a pace that no one can keep up with, and eventually watch my opponent drain and wear him down, and pretty much be able to take the soul from him in the fight and getting the victory.
Yeah. Part of that's having the confidence in knowing that nobody else can actually do that, because they don't really have the tools or facilities, the understanding, the science behind it, the mathematics that goes behind all the things that have put you there. But it all comes down to your guys' willingness and work ethic that you guys put in, because the training situation that you guys are in is very, very special. It's for very unique people. A lot of people want to play a game, but it's no holds barred. There's no game. And but that's from A to Z. That's all the way through the training, the nutrition, the supplementation, the recovery, all the augmentation, the oxygenation, everything. And so yeah, you definitely walk out there. A lot of people talk about your threshold capacity and stuff, and you've definitely become known for that. I think right now, don't you have the best record in all of MMA? Is it?
Well, one of them, sitting at 20-1. There's Khabib, you got 23-0, and a couple other guys that are solidifying who they are as fighters. But as far as an output and having the mat time that I have inside the cage is by far bar none. I just feel like since I've been from world-class facility through college and Purdue, and just going through all the MMA training that I've done and previous, and searching out training partners, since we started out with the training lab, my very first fight, and progressively getting better, I have seen the gains from, the start of it to where it is now, where some of the training partners that I've had in the past, starting out the same time I have, are already in their career, or the careers coming to a close, just because of the overtraining, the no confidence going into the fight. And a lot of people I feel that I've trained with are superstars in the gym, but I feel like they leave it all out in the gym, and they don't have
in the weight cut.
Yeah, in the weight cut. And they're scared to get tired. It seems like a lot of the fighters that go out there, have the fear of getting tired, and then from there, if the opponent is more conditioned than you are, they're going to take advantage. So, I know what we have done going into a fight. There's no doubt in my mind that no stone was unturned going from training into competition.
Yeah, that's a good feeling. It's not just about what you do on the outside, it's what you do on the inside. It's everything that we do from the cellular. But you're a warrior all your life. I've known you since before you were born.
Yeah.
And with your brothers and your dad and I go to the same school. And you've been training essentially all your life. All your life.
Yeah.
So it's about time for you to step up there on that stage and be recognized for all these years and this effort that you put in. And so we're looking forward to seeing that fight coming up here. Why don't you, Juan, just share with me and share with some of the people what makes Juan Archuleta tick, man? What makes you get up in the morning? You know, why do you do what you do?
You know, since I was little, it's just always been my faith and my relationship that I have with God. You know, just knowing that at the end of the day, there's light at the end of the tunnel. You know, as long as you're doing diligence and climbing to the end of that tunnel and not just staying stationary, you're gonna make it. You know, no matter what, no matter how hard the pressure is, no matter how drastic the training is, no matter how emotional or stressful the family life is. You know, you put it in God's hands, and you keep doing the right things, being around the right people, you know, having the humility to, you know, face the day without drinking your own Kool-Aid, so to speak. You know, you are a realist, but you also have to have that dream and that goal set for the day to accomplish it. And if you wake up with no goals, no aspirations, and just want to go about your day just coasting, you know, and that's okay. But for me, I just feel like I want to be something great. I want to be able to impact lives that have similar stories to mine, and you know, and it's all for the glory and you know, just the message that I put out from God. You know, it's just, that's what I want. I want to be inspiration to kids that grew up with a big family, and you know, that, you know, not necessarily are their brothers getting a lot of the attention and you coming on the backside. That's the story I want to, that's the kids I want to reach out to. The kids that feel like all hope was lost in them because of their family ahead of them, you know, that there's no goals left because you're doomed to fail if your brothers failed, or you're doomed to fail because, you know, you had no aspirations or goals. It's just like, no, you can get up every day, train hard, represent your family, represent who you are, and you know, whatever you believe in, you know, do the work and go out there and go to bed knowing you put the work in.
Yeah, well, you're no stranger to a big family.
Yeah,
I mean, that's absolutely right. That's great. I mean, but let's see. How many kids are in your family? Your dad has 7?
My dad has 7. You know, I've been around you my whole life, so that's another 9 added on.
So
Yeah.
16 kids
Yeah,
right
16
there, huh?
kids total. Yeah.
You can't beat that. Well,
Yeah.
you know, you got 3 beautiful kids of your own and beautiful wife, Janae. Why don't you tell us about them a little bit, Juan?
Yeah, you know, when I was at Purdue wrestling there, I had my first child while I was out there, and trying to keep my mind focused, I stayed out there and tried to, you know, went through college and the wrestling atmosphere. But when it all came to a halt, you know, I really wanted to make some readjustments. And you know, coming home from Indiana, you were one of the first persons that I seen, and you know, you just laid out how you've been so successful and how you've managed your family, and it was a huge guidance on my part to go in there and implement the same thing. You know, my wife, she buys 100% into what we do. You know, my dreams are her dreams. She was one of the driving forces on getting me into mixed martial arts and fighting, and there's still a competition that she's seen in my eyes and in my blood. She knew that you could keep competing. You know, you're not happy when you're not, or you know, that this is your passion. This is what God's calling you, you know, to do. And so, you know, having that backing behind her, she's fully indulged herself in nutrition, you know, through you being an apprentice under you, and the guidance of, you know, properly meal prepping, you know, your whole body composition breakdown, knowing what foods to put in. You know, I think you guys work really well hand in hand on making sure the nutrition fact on my end going into the cage is undeniable, so that when I step in there, I'm ready to go. And I think it's a huge part of that, and a huge part of my success comes from her. And you know, my kids, you know, you can't really explain what it's like being a dad unless you're a dad. You know, you go home, you see your kids, and it just makes everything else seem so small, the problems you had throughout the day. And you know, they're a bundle of joy. They know I fight, they understand what fighting is, and you know, and they embrace it and are fully supportive of it.
Yeah, well, especially that little Zeke.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was over the other day. wrestling in the garage, and he came up and hit me with his set of boxing gloves. Just took me out, man.
Yeah, just a
took
little
me out.
firecracker. And
Yeah,
I
he's
think,
a firecracker. And then you got that little girl, Fabi, that she's going to be a heartbreaker. And she's, one day they grow up fast. My little girl, Sienna, just got married this last weekend. And, you blink and it's over. I never thought that time was going to come. Fortunate, she wrestled. She ended up marrying a wrestler who I trained from Missouri, Joy LaValle. And he's a good guy, solid kid. But you know what? It's something that I don't know. Dad never really is ready for.
Yeah.
So you were at I don't know if you're at the rehearsal there, but when I was at the rehearsal, I went to give her away and I shot a double leg on her right there at the altar. And he's like, "What are you doing?" I was like, so the next day, my daughter Sienna said, "Hey, Daddy, are you gonna shoot double leg on Joy at the altar again?" And I said, "No way, he's too good." So that time I came with the left.
Yeah,
so,
nice.
But anyways, Juan, so what I want to know is you had some offers coming at you because obviously you're so successful. How many belts do you have? You have
Seven total.
belts right now. You are. I think you're the only champion in any organization to own 4 belts in 4 different weight classes, right?
Yes, yeah.
Wow, what are those weight classes?
There were 135, 145, 155, and 160.
That's quite a range of weights there. You must have really worked hard to get those weights on and off, huh?
Yeah, thanks to the science behind it, generating from yourself in the training lab, it just, we were able to really focus in on those camps and, change our body structure, the muscle structure of my body and still be able to compete at a high level. And, for me, it was easy for me to do because all I had to do was show up and work out, but I'm sure the numbers that you had to run on the back end were kind of, day and night compared to 135 and 160.
Oh, yeah. I remember sometimes at the beginning of the camp is 174, and then we need to get you down to 35. But the cool parts about it is that we took our time. We took 4.5 months to get you down. We had an interim fight. You ate 6 meals a day, all the way till the day you weighed in. You always drank. You never dehydrated yourself. And yet we're able to morph your body from 175 down to 135 in basically at the strongest and lightest you've ever been in your whole life. Yeah. And so that was really cool. Now you had some, so you know what? From the highest to the lowest part down, you went 160, as high as 160, but you performed exceptionally well at 135. You're probably one of the only people who can actually make 35s correctly. And not starve yourself, not starve yourself, no salt baths, no massive dehydration, anything like that. And that's basically what the TreigningLab does. Is
and then being able to go, both those fights from 160 and 135 both lasted the 5 rounds of the full 30 or 25-minute fight, and being able to function throughout all, staying, winning every fight or every round. Didn't lose one round, and either. From all those championship fights, never losing a round in them, and being able to function throughout the 5 rounds as well was really crucial.
Right, crucial, absolutely, and everybody knows you for that.
Yeah.
I think when your opponent actually walks in, they're afraid that you're going to take them into some of the deepest waters, the deepest waters that they've ever been in their life. So why don't you tell me about right now, if we're looking at, you're at Bellator right now. This fight here coming up is at 145 in November 30th, right?
Yep.
And that's in Oklahoma, right? And then the plan, what's the plan from there, Juan?
Well, so, everything goes well and we're properly prepared like, we've been in the past, and we're successful like we've been in the past. We're shooting for, winning this fight and then, start the weight cut down, the descendant to 135 to, capture the title for Bellator and kind of emulate what my history shows of fighting multiple weight classes, being successful in multiple weight classes, and being able to put an output out there that no one else could hang. So, God willing, everything goes good this fight, and we putting in the work, and we go out there and I perform the way I know how to perform. We're coming after the 135 title for Bellator.
Yeah. You know what? I think it's great. I've done all the numbers, and you are the biggest, strongest 135 pounder out there who will be able to make the weight. correctly without bastardizing the performance. So many people in cutting weight don't understand that they basically spend 15 weeks preparing for an event. 14 of those weeks, they think that they're getting better and better and better, and they spend the last 7 to 10 days literally digressing all the way back down to pre-start camp.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember when I was in the early days when I was working with what's called human performance functions, which are patented mine, where guys would be 6-9 weeks into a camp and their trainers would call me and go, Coach Cal, what's going on? So-and-so is having such a hard time. Man, he's getting worse every week. He's getting tired. He's fatigued. What's all going on? And so I stepped in and I actually built something called the human performance function. And the bottom line is this, is if what you're doing day to day is going to put your body from a starting point here to an ending point here, then you're roughly 29-30% below where you started, so you wasted yourself for 15 weeks.
Yeah, absolutely.
But with you, you've actually seen the graphs.
Yes.
You've been up 30, 40, and 50% from where you started, and that's how you peak, and that's how you want to do it, but you have to do it right.
Yeah.
And
Because you know when you're at the bottom end, and you know when you're at the top end.
oh yeah, you
throughout
know,
the whole
everybody
camp.
knows.
Yeah.
And you know what? Too many coaches, I think, and too many trainers and so-called experts take advantage of your guys' willingness as warriors
Yeah.
to grind.
Absolutely.
In fact, somewhere there's this misnomer that says you have to suffer. You have to suffer every day. You have to be miserable every day to make weight. And that's not exactly true at all. I mean, do you remember the night before 35s? You ate what? Salmon, brownies,
Yeah.
and blueberries,
Yeah.
drank, came in the next day and made
Oh, and then
135
also had
after a 30-point cut.
a buffalo patty as well on top of that.
Yeah, yeah. So you know what? That's a cool thing. So you know, on that subject, and that kind of leads me into why do you think it is that most fighters fail? Because the statistics aren't very good. Why do they fail? And I think this kind of envelope's kind of part of the whole thing.
Yeah, I think when you don't put the full package together and you're focused on just the MMA mind state, I think a lot of people run into that error and the pressure gets to them. I think if people focus on just the conditioning part too much, they don't have the technique to add to controlling those positions and having the gas tank to implement a hand-to-hand combat. And I think that's another huge part that what makes us so successful is knowing the ropes about growing up wrestling. It's a different modality when you're in there doing the hand-to-hand combat than the strength and conditioning combat. I think the training that leads into our practices throughout the week and the strength and conditioning we do prepare us for that hand-to-hand combat, so that when you're dog tired, you could look up at your opponent and see him laying on the mat at the end of practice. It makes you feel good about yourself.
Oh, definitely. Definitely.
I think that's a lot of reason why they are unsuccessful is just they don't sell themselves in all different categories. They say, okay, I'm gonna go 100% in MMA and do 20%. I mean, you've seen it. They come in 20% at strength and conditioning, and it's like, okay, well, if you're giving 100% at practice, you can't give 100% at strength and conditioning. So how is your heart rate gonna handle going up at a certain level when you're only pushing it at a certain modality here at the fighting end?
Yeah, that's well stated. It's all about periodization, progressive overload, and understanding basically how the stressors are taxing the autonomic nervous system, the central nervous system, the peripheral nervous system, and how they all integrate and work together.
Yeah.
Which is cool.
And then on top of that, throwing the lack of nutrition that 90% of the athletes have right now in MMA, I mean, definitely can be good on the recovery.
No, they're being sold a bill of goods. I've seen some of these recovery packages that they're giving and stuff like that, and knowing, understanding what it does on a cellular level, from insulin resistance, glycemic index response, reactive oxygen species, advanced glycation end products, and all the things that it actually does to them. It's just it's a sad thing. So as we move forward from here on, you have some really neat sponsors out there right now who have been supported you through and out. I know one of them is Steve Martin, Legacy Builders. Great man, great wife, Grace, and his family. In fact, he's a big reason why we're able to have the TreigningLab here. And so he's a big reason for your success. So I know, why don't you tell me about Steve a little bit, your relationship with him, and maybe Boost Mobile or some of these people who are taking care of you on a financial end, because it's a struggle. until you meet the big money. There's like this big gap between the big money makers and all those trying to get there. Nobody's making it overly easy to cross that gap. So why don't you tell us about that?
Yeah, starting out, I went to Mark Munoz's gym, and your co-op with you as well, with the TreigningLab and Rain Training Center. My wife actually, or I think, made contact through you with Steve on wanting to know how to eat better nutritional wise. And so my wife, wanted, asking for help on cooking.
I think what it was is Steve was a client of the TreigningLab.
Yeah.
And then
knew Mark
we
well.
brought Janae in.
Mm-hmm.
Janae in to do that, and she became part of the family there. So it integrated together nicely.
And just out of the blue, Janae said, "Hey, I heard that you like fighters, and you're really into the fight game. Would you be willing to sit down with my husband, maybe hear him out on a possible sponsorship?" And so Steve, he said, "You know what? Have him write me something first." And at first, I was like real hesitant of it because coming from where I come from, we're really self-pride guys on what we do for our work as well as you. We want to let our work talk, and we don't really like to ask for too much handouts. So breaking out of that shell and praying about it and really putting words to a piece of paper that made me want him to believe in me. At first was hard, but getting through it and rereading it, I was like, oh, I think this is gonna be really cool to send them, because it's about who I am, my family, my relationship with God, and him reading that, he reached back, gave me a call and said, hey, I want to meet with you. And so meeting with them, giving me my goals, my aspirations, what I want to accomplish in life, and really touched home to him, and he became one of my biggest sponsors to date right now, and not just a sponsor, but he's been a huge impact on my life with my relationship with my faith and God, and walking me along those lines of whenever I stumble, he's one of the guys there to pick me back up. He married my wife and I. We became really well friends, and at a time he had this building that we're in right now, full of tools, and I used to drive from Victorville to Orange County every day to Pasadena. Just was always on the road. So he created like a little quarter gym and said, hey, anytime you want to train, we could train here. And I was like, okay. And then when I introduced him to TJ wanted to do a camp out here after we met you because of all the science base that was out there, and that you have showed him how much better he could get. He wanted to do a camp, and Steve willingly opened up the doors to create a nice facility that we have now, and the success that we've had now is has a lot to do in his honor, on a financial end, and just backing us. There's not too many guys that would put their money where their mouth is, so to speak, figuratively and realistically. Just
and not ask for anything in return, too.
And not asking for anything in return,
right, Yeah.
So I don't think there's a lot of people that would have that kind of faith in people themselves to really build a family like we've been doing, and having it succeed like we have right now,
Yeah. I mean, Steve's largely responsible right now for the TreigningLab to be in place right now, recognized as the most sought-after performance facility in the world, bar none, for combat sports. And that's not just fighting. I mean, it goes through wrestling with David Taylor and Jake Varner and Penn State Wrestling and all the other folks that we work with.
Baseball players that you guys have done.
Right. So, that's a big, it's a blessing that God put someone in your life like that with Steve there to be able to do that. So you got a couple other notable sponsors out there. I think Boost Mobile is that one
Boost
of them?
Mobile is huge. I actually met them through TJ. I got to sit down with one of the guys that does all the sponsorship and becoming representations of the company, and talking to him, I was telling him my story, and same thing like with Steve, really gave him my goals and aspirations, and they jumped on the opportunity to do it, and as well as Elite Sports, who have made my MMA gear, don't ask for anything in return or anything. They just from the beginning believed in me and wanted to create a nice uniform look for me, who have done a great job, and they actually don't even do combat sports or into slow pitch softball, so for them to say, yeah, we'll help you out from the beginning, and still having them has been a huge blessing as well.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's what TreigningLab was started out as. basically was to bring people together as a family.
Yeah.
You and I, we're no stranger to family.
Yeah.
And that's what's neat, is God keeps putting people there in place, and people with the right hearts. But there's a lot of sharks out there too in this business.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I just spoke to somebody this morning. We were training.
Yeah.
He sat right there and he said, "It's a dirty business,
Yeah,
Cal. It's
yeah,
a dirty business."
yeah.
And I said, "Well, my response to him was, you know what? I'm gonna keep my nose focused right to the grindstone with the boys in the garage. I'm gonna keep them, making them the best athletes in the world, undeniably. Anybody try to deny that, then that's okay. They can try.
Yeah.
But it's not happening anytime soon."
Yeah.
And well, let's see. Who's your manager? Who's
So
your
manager, I have Tiki Gosen. He does a lot of my getting me in front of people for sponsorships, and gotten me the negotiation to sign with Bellator, because I could have went the other route as well. But he really fought for me and got me on a deal with Bellator, and so now, as well as we do our part, he's going to be able to be a great representation of myself for me, and just putting confidence in him to go speak on my behalf, because no one sells yourself better than you, but if you can have someone believe in you as much as you believe in yourself, then it makes it easy just to focus on the training.
So Tiki's doing a good job right now?
Yeah, Tiki's awesome. I really, I know TJ just recently signed with them as well. He's a hard worker, and he's fought in the game before. I know a lot of promoters have never even stepped foot in the cage. I'm not saying you have to go out there and be a UFC champion and saying, oh yeah, that I've made to the highest level, I'm gonna go be a great promoter. I mean, you could have a losing record or done the groundwork and know stuff about the sport, because you actually put your life on the line, so you know how they know what they're getting themselves into. You know
what? You chew some of the same dirt.
Yeah, exactly.
Or some of the same matter, same canvas.
Yeah.
Because there's something special about somebody who's going to walk in there and step in the cage with another human being, and then all of a sudden have the door shut and locked on you.
Yeah.
I talked to a fighter the other day. He goes, "Man, I swear that gate shut, and I was gonna jump out. I was gonna jump out of the cage and run over there." And I can't hardly blame him.
Yeah.
So right now, we're gonna start closing it up here a little bit. But first of all, talk about your training partners, man. You have an incredible surrounding here with some great people, great training partners who are not just hedonistically interested in themselves, but mutually benevolent in the fact that they want to be part and they want to help you and help each other. So why don't you tell me about some of your training partners?
Yeah, well, the way I got my training partners was honestly through the work that we had done, and having my body so well tuned, that we knew our body in and out, from an output we could put and a recovery input that we put back into my body. So having the confidence of going out there and being able to train the right way and train smartly and not hurt myself or my training partners was real pivotal to what we have now, because some of the training partners that have come out here, that being Cup Swanson, TJ Dillashaw, Tim Elliott, the list just goes on, Jake Gallenberger, Georgie Karakani, Syed Awad, a lot of these guys I personally trained with at first, and you get, when I was up in Alpha Male, with Uriah, Chad Mendez, TJ, Lance Palmer, Joe Benavidez, and all these guys, they thought that I was going to walk in there and they're just going to, round robin me, and even at Greg Jackson's gym with the altitude, run out there and, just get throttled. But you go there, I had a good first practice, and everyone's like, okay, like usually the first practice kills someone, you'll feel it at the end of the end of the week. And when I didn't feel it at the end of the week, and I kept pushing through and giving these guys the lifts that they needed, they were asking, how are you doing this? And not knowing that you were on the back end, working on my numbers, on my recovery, and letting me know what the training load should look like today. I had mentioned them about who was training me on the back end, and they've been people that have been really interested in investing in their career to have the longevity in their career, wanting to make the change. So all these guys coming out here, to implement your program and being part of their career, to have the longevity and having the confidence of stepping in there, of doing what I was able to do on their own training camp, and that's another thing, jumping into someone else's training camp and being able to perform at a high output like that was crucial for them as well. So when they seen the confidence that I had, and the output that I could put for them for their training camp was really beneficial for them. So just bringing it all to a home now, and being able to, you know, team up with all the training partners that we have, and with you and with Steve, and just, you know, what the works of God that His hand being over this gym, honestly, is what's been pushing it to be what it is now, with the training people, with the training partners, and the people involved, and the output that we're outputting.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's neat, because what you're saying is that there's so much more than what people actually understand. I mean, we listen to people talk on podcasts and on computer and on the media, actually on TV and stuff like that, about what they think we're doing.
Yeah.
And they go, oh, they're working out from the outside, looking at all this.
Yeah.
But they have no idea what we're doing such a deep, deep cellular level as what we're doing with your body.
Yeah.
Literally turned you guys into super athletes.
Wow.
You know what? All over the world does not just fighting, but I mean, take a look at David Taylor. And that's another training partner, and a guy that you're kind of partnering up with here to start your own elite wrestling club, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the elite wrestling club that's coming in, you know, to SoCal, where we can implement some of these same strategies into such a Neanderthal sport. That's where we get our personality from, of going into a fighting. Is we got to run raw, and we got to run rugged for every fight, every week of training to go into competition. If you're not feeling like crap, you didn't have a good workout, you didn't have a good week, and it was honestly my mind state of changing that, because there was times, you know, at the beginning of my career where I would double up and it would be too much, and you're like, hey, you need to pull back, and I was like, no, I feel too good, I need to do something more. And just having the confidence of stepping back, you know. And another good example of that would be, and I'm sure he doesn't mind, is because he's told the story over and over, is Kevin Lee coming out that time. He was getting ready to fight Ferguson, and his trainers felt like he was the best conditioned, and everything they threw at him wouldn't break him. And then, you know, knowing to come into the garage, and him having the confidence to do that, and thinking his body was going to be able to hang. You know, like you said, there's so much that we involve in, not just the outer part, where Kevin Lee, I feel like their trainers maybe did that, focused on the outer part and not the end part, on a cellular level. I think, you know, it showed that day of training when we both went head to head on the training, and
right.
You know, so he knows that there's a whole different world from going for everyday training, where you think you have a professional camp behind you, and you're doing all the right things, and you have all the right setups for coaching, but you're still missing these little things to push you over that next hump,
right.
You know, to knock that wall down when you feel like you can't, you know, or keeping one more takedown, or one more combination before the end of the round to end the round out, you know. Some people don't feel that, and I feel like we were able to do that because we involve everything from the inside out.
Yeah, you know what? Kevin's a great kid. I loved having him in the facility. He came down, actually with Robert Follis.
Yes,
you know, who's obviously not here this anymore, and it's a big loss for this community. He was a great guy. Sat down with Kevin. I spent probably, I want to say 6-7 hours with Kevin in the facility and Robert. And then it was late at night, they hadn't eaten, and they said, oh, we're going to go get something to eat. And I'm like, well, wait a minute, we go get something to eat. Well, we'll go pick something up. Oh, no, you don't pick nothing up. And so they drove 40 minutes back home with me at 11 o'clock at night. My wife, Monica, made them these beautiful bison burgers from this grass-fed, grass-finished bison that we actually hunted ourselves to make sure that everything was good. But Kevin's a great kid, and totally enjoyed working with him. Hopefully be able to work with him in the future. And, you know, just lots of blessings, and hopefully he does real well. He's got some great trainers out there with Corey and Dewey, and those are all good guys.
Yeah,
you know
absolutely.
what I mean? And, but that's definitely a big difference, is what we do on the inside here at the TreigningLab, which very few people understand. You see, Scripture, the Bible tells us that we are fearfully and wonderfully created, and that we are created by the design of an intelligent being. And if we just take a second and take a step back and look into the Eucharistic cell and look at the complexity of that and the limited amount that we can understand, we start seeing, oh man, there's so many answers out here that we don't know.
Yeah.
And so the TreigningLab, the key verse for the TreigningLab is Proverbs 25:2. It's the glory of kings that search out a matter. And we have searched out a lot of things, been blessed with a lot of answers, to take athletes to the highest level possible, and to give them the longevity and the vitality that they deserve for the work that they put in. And you know what, that's just all glory to God, because what he has done with this body is amazing. So many people focus on one thing, and that, to me, that is basically to patronize God's creation, because the body is so multifaceted. I mean, do you realize that your heart beats 86,400 times a day, and it goes through 6,000 grams of ATP in a day, yet it can't produce that enough? It would take 100 days to produce that. But for it to be able to do that, it would have to have a perpetual cycle of energy, which in fact it does. So Elon Musk himself would really like that, to know how to harness perpetual energy, right?
I think we all do.
Yeah. So anyways,
No matter what
but
our
you know
lifestyle
the answers
is.
are there, and we've been real blessed to be able to find them. And so anyways, Juan, we're going to close out here. Want to thank you for coming to us today, and we're going to, you guys out there who are listening, you know what, hope you enjoyed this podcast with Juan Archuleta. You're not going to find a more genuine fighter out there. You're not going to find a harder working one. If you want to watch that, then just watch some of the videos, watch some of his Instagram posts on his training in the garage, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. But in the next week, stay with us. We're going to be talking here, Coach Cal's Corner at the TreigningLab, and then soon to come next week, we're going to be talking shop from the garage. We're going to be talking to Sead Awad, who has the title, well, not title fight, but soon to be title, I hope. He's going to be fighting a big fight with Ben Henderson here. And then we're also going to be bringing in newest member of the Training Lab here to talk to you, Olympic gold medalist Helen Maroulis. And we got a whole big family here waiting to introduce him to you. So thank you again for being in Coach Cal's Corner, and God bless you all.
Thank you guys for tuning in.